All right, hey, good morning. Yeah, it is a good morning. It is a good morning. I loved what we just got to do. I love where we're headed. If you're here today for the first time, let me just say this to bring you in the room. What you just saw is true. We're in a sermon series entitled Under the Rug, Things We Wish Jesus Didn't Say. Actually, we're wrapping that series up today, and we're wrapping it up in a good direction. I like this direction. It's like saying, okay, there are things that you sweep under the rug, either consciously or subconsciously, whether you want to or not. Jesus tells you to do it, you just don't do it. Well, why? Why? And where we're about to head in Luke chapter 9, Jesus is going to tell us why. One of these underlying forces that push us in a different direction with our life. So let's just start there. Let's start with what Jesus says, and we'll move from this. Luke chapter 9. If you got a Bible, go ahead and grab it. If you didn't bring one or don't have a Bible app on your phone, I'll put it up here. There's sometimes something good to having your own out, and if you have that, there you go. And while you flip, I'll say this. If you're here for the first time, here in a minute, there will be a word or two that are underlined. If they're underlined, that is all of our signal that we own that word, right? We get to read that together. So let's go with this. Verse 23, Jesus says to all the people there, his disciples he's talking to, and he says this to all of us this morning. He says, if whoever wants to be my disciple, whoever wants to be like me, follow me, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. That's a bold statement. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self? And yet we see that happen a lot. Then here it comes. Whoever is, help me, ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will be of them when he comes in his glory and in the glory of the Father and of the holy angels. You know, I want to share with you a sermon that I've just given the title, Unashamed and Unrestrained to. And if you think that's cheesy, just give me a minute or two to unpack this, right? You look in this text, and Jesus points his finger at this powerful force that moves us to sweep different things that he says under the rug and to not live them out. And in a word, here you have it, 5 letters, it's the word shame. Right? You read that word and automatically some of you don't like it, right? Because we don't enjoy that word that much, right? But I got a sneaking suspicion we deal with it quite a bit. Let's just do this by show of hands. How many of us in here can think of a time whenever we felt shame in our lives? How many of us can do that? All right, some of you didn't even have to think, your arm just went up. You're like, what? Get back down. What are you doing to me? Yeah, because you're kind of like me. Yeah, shame's just one of those universal experiences. It's a universal emotion that we feel. Anytime you act in a way, or someone close to you acts, it's kind of like guilt by association. Anyway, I'll get there, right? Anytime you act in a way that doesn't fit with your internal standard or some external standard, you're going to feel shame. You're going to feel embarrassed. You're going to feel regret. You're going to feel like, man, I wish I could have that back, and you're going to beat yourself up. Why? It's shame driving and motivating you in that moment, right? Start poking around with that word, and you can find, all kinds of goody in it. Some of my earliest memories have it. One of my earliest memories that I can think of has it. You know, we were at Zafra Church of Christ. My family's a church-going sort, and so we were there in the evening. Must have been a service or something. I don't remember that. I don't remember how I got there, but I do remember hiding underneath the furthest table in the darkest room I could find in the church building, straight up and down. And I don't remember doing it, but evidently I decided to one-up my grandpa, who was the guy who cut all of our hair, right? I found a pair of scissors and just decided to do it myself, right? I usually think about dudes doing that. I did it, there you go. And like I said, I don't remember doing it. I don't remember getting there, but I do remember being there. Why? Because of that feeling I had, even as a little dude, just hoping my parents wouldn't be able to find me. That was it. I still remember that. hoping that I had hidden myself well enough that I could not be found because I didn't want to face up to it. Why? Shame. What I had done hadn't met this standard that they had. Right? And that's just one story. That's just getting it started. Right? Keep tracking. And I mean, I can keep cooking with these. Times I've given advice and it was horrible advice, as it turns out, and I was heartily ashamed of myself, stories when I backed down, when I should have stepped out, stories about times when, I felt like I should have had the right word to say and I didn't have the right word to say. And then I thought of the right word as I was walking away and you're just like, oh my goodness, just last night, for crying out loud. I'm talking to someone and I forgot their name. I should have known their name. I'm like, why? All the IQ points I have and they let me down. Like, why? Well, I could punch myself in the face, And you just walk away and you're like, I will never forget ever again. Why? It's shame. It's just a real part of your life. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Right? It's not that one moment. It just keeps going. All these different times in our lives whenever we can think of that. But the interesting thing about shame, and I think the reason and the piece of it that Jesus is pushing us toward is this aspect of it that goes something like this, that shame motivates us. Shame moves us. I just put it this way, that when you feel shame, you're going to push away. When you feel shame, you're going to push away. You don't like to be associated with anything that is going to bring shame. If you feel ashamed, you're not going to be associated with it. That's why you don't want to go to that class reunion you keep getting invited to. You don't want to go because those people know those things I did. And if I go there, I'm going to be reminded. And I'm going to feel that feeling all over again. No, it's not going to happen, That's why you're not going there, not going to family reunion. Isn't going to happen, right? That's why you had that summer friendship that time, right? That person you met over the summer when you weren't away from your other friends. You met them, they were fun, enjoyed spending time with them. Yeah, then summer ended, they got around the crowd you usually run with, and you're like, oh, I guess they're a little bit, awkward. Funny, I didn't notice that before, and oh man. And you just started pushing them away. Why? All of a sudden you were ashamed of them. Their actions didn't meet the social standard, right? That's why when you get married, they make you take the vow for better or for worse. Why? Give it time. Give it time, right? Your spouse is going to do stuff that embarrass you, right? Or they're going to pick up habits. They're going to pick up addictions that they didn't have when you met them, and now all of a sudden they have them, and you're ashamed that they have them, and so all of a sudden, whether you know it or not, you're already finding it easier to talk in a poor way about them around other people. It's kind of like you're hedging your bets so that whenever they see the two of you, they don't see you as one unit. Why? Because I don't want to be associated with that. I'm ashamed of it for them. I'm ashamed of it for them. When you feel shame, you push away. You push away. That's why media is just having a field day, right? They're grabbing onto anything they can to make, go, all right, Trump did this and he should be ashamed of it, right? And so if you vote for him, then you're going to have to associate with him. And if I can make him look shameful enough, you're going to stay at home and not vote. Or Hillary did this. Oh man, it's those emails. And boy, they're just going to, right? Because she's a shameful creature. And if you vote for her, you'll be a shameful creature and run away, right? It's the reason why, I don't know, your friend even has fun with you, talking about sports teams. If your team's doing good, it's easy to withstand the onslaught. If your team's doing bad, you're this close to cheering for the Cardinals, right? It's almost got you. Why? He's just playing off shame, right? When you feel shame, you push away. Sad fact of life is this: we love to be associated with things that we see as successful. Cool, hip, trendy, you bring it. We love to be associated with those things, and we find it torturous to be associated with environments, places, people that we think are shabby, subpar. They're not meeting this standard. We find it absolutely difficult, and it's all because of that little word shame. Shame's going to motivate you to associate yourself with this group over that group. to pull away from this one and join that one. It's going to shame you to wear this jersey and not that jersey. It's going to shame you to put this poster up on the wall. Oh, and then whenever they do something publicly, to take their poster down and put someone else's poster up on the wall, right? I don't want to be associated with them anymore. Shame's going to motivate you to go to this place over that place on the weekend and to spend your time here and not there. It's all shame. Shame motivates you, and so Jesus is looking at us through Luke chapter 9 today, and he's saying this, that if you want to be his disciple, you have to master your shame. You got to master your shame, or it's going to absolutely master you, or I should put it this way, other people are going to use it to leverage you in a direction. They're going to have mastery over you, and you're never going to discover the fullness of the life Jesus has for you. Master your shame, master your shame. And if you back up to verse 18, Jesus starts giving us these instructions on how we get this done, right? And this is where we're going to focus today, right? How do we master shame in our life? Because the interesting thing is, if we master it here, we know how to beat it there too. Verse 18, Jesus gets it started. He says this, right? Once when Jesus was praying in private and his disciples were with him, he asked them, "Who do the crowds say what? I am." Who do the crowds say I am? That's a curious question, right? You know, those of us who've gone to church, you know, we look at it and it's just almost like we skim over it and we're like, oh, he's Jesus, moving on, we got it, we know how to fill in the blank. No, just stop and consider it. Why in the world is he asking that question? What is he trying to accomplish with it? What's he trying to accomplish with it? I mean, because now that we've talked about shame, you know what he's asking. He's saying this, so how prominent am I in people's minds? You know, am I someone worth associating with or not? You know, what sort of label do they put on me? Because you put labels on people that help you dismiss them. You're just a dork. You're just a geek. And so he's going, so they think I'm a dork or a geek? I don't think Jesus has self-esteem issues. I think he's going to take them somewhere. He's like, just how prominent am I? On the shame-ometer, you know, am I pretty high up? You should be ashamed to be around me. Or am I pretty low? You should want to be around me. Who do people say that I am? Verse 20. Or no, verse 19. They replied, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, still others one of the prophets long ago has come back to life. In other words, it depends on who you ask, whether or not you're worth their time. Verse 20, but what about you? He asked, who do you say I am? And Peter lays it down. Peter answers, you are God's what? With one word, Peter literally takes the biggest label he has and slaps it on Jesus and backs away. I love the way he puts it in Matthew chapter 16. Jesus asks the question there, full form, who do you say I am? And he says, you are the Christ. Another word for Messiah, you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. In other words, there is no category bigger. There is no person greater. You have God's DNA, for crying out. You're like God in flesh walking on this earth. You're the most unique thing that's ever happened in the history of mankind, straight up and down. You're the Christ, the Son of the living God, right? You're the Messiah. See, the Jewish nation, they believed that there was going to be this great kind of historic, heroic deliverer, and, you know, he's going to set them free and establish their nation. And Peter's like, yeah, well, you're that, but you're also the one that has God's DNA. You look at this, and that is a profound statement, absolutely profound, and that's why Jesus says this in verse 21. He says, so he strictly warns them not to tell this to anyone. You know why, right? It's like saying the president is going to show up at my house on Thursday. All of a sudden, everybody within a 100-mile radius is converging on my house on Thursday. There it is. There are people who live their lives and pay thousands of bucks just to sit in a room with the president. Right? He's coming near. Jesus is going, okay, so like this person is so much greater than the president. He's come, yeah, we're not going to have room to breathe. Keep that under wraps for now. There will be a time when you break that loose. And by the way, that time's come. We're going to get there, right? And so if you back up, here's what he's asking us, right? Who do you say, asking of us, who do you say that I am? Here's the question. If you want to master your shame, it starts right here with this question. Who's Jesus? Who's Jesus? Because if he's the Messiah of Scripture, if he's the Son of the living God, that means something. That means something. I mean, not only did you get invited to eat dinner with the president, right, but God walked right past your shame and came near to you, right? I looked at this text and I just think it's reminding us, helping us get a picture, right, that Jesus is the Messiah. Right, that he is the Son of God, right? It's reminding you that Jesus was sent to this earth because God loved you. God loved you. And so there he is, right, among you, right? He's not far away. Here he is. This is reminding you that Jesus was sent to die for your sin in your place, reminding you that he was buried and then raised to life again, even reminding you that after he was raised and the disciples are telling everybody that Jesus rose from the dead, and even though the Jewish leaders hated it, they never went to the tomb and said, look, he's still there. Couldn't do it. No, Son of God defeated death and gave us hope of life. In the person of Jesus, we have someone totally unique in the history of the world, right? We get the Son of God sent to the world. See, and with that reality, I think it's going to come this instruction with it that we're going to lay hold of, because here's the truth, right? Whenever he comes, if God's here, he's bringing a whole different standard, and that's what he came to do. Right, to show the way you're supposed to be measuring your life. Oh, you're feeling shame because of this standard over here you didn't meet. He's going, oh my. Sometimes that standard's laughable. Come on. First grade standard, high school standard, it just keeps shifting. Which one you want to grab hold of? And if you feel ashamed because you don't meet some standard, he's saying this, welcome to the new standard. It's me. I'm here. I'm here. I'm the boss of mankind. I created everything. I know how it's supposed to function. Let me show you that I'm here. In other words, he's giving you this instruction. If you want to master shame, you got to set your standard, right? Determine what your standard in life is going to be. If it's not him, who is it? Who is it? I just say this, put Jesus in his rightful place. How big is Jesus to you? Is he bigger than the Super Bowl, right? Is he bigger than Monday Night Football? Is he bigger than the Cubs? How big is he? How big is he? Because if what this text says is true, he's the master of the universe. How big you want to make that? He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning and the end. He's the rock of salvation, the redeemer of mankind, our deliverer. And if that's true, it changes the entire ballgame. I love the way this plays in John chapter 4. Right? You go there, it's a story, Jesus traveling through Samaria, says he has to go, goes to this town, has a conversation with this woman at noon around a well. You start reading around that and you find out she's at that well because she's ashamed of her life. She's ashamed of her life, right? In a culture, in a town that values family and values marital fidelity, this woman has been married 5 times and now she's shacked up with a dude not married. She is ashamed of her life. And so she's drawn water at noon so no one else is around. There it is. And they start talking, and what you find in that exchange is she starts slapping labels on Jesus, just trying them up next to him. Do they fit? Does this one fit? Does this one fit? She trots out, you're a Jewish man. Maybe that'll help me. No, all right, you're a gentleman. You're actually treating me with kindness and respect. Okay, maybe you're a prophet. You're a prophet. Finally, he blows through all of them, and she takes this one out, and it changes her life. Messiah. And she puts it on him, and it fits. And in that moment, she realized this to be true, that despite all the shame in her past, forget breakfast with the president, the God of the universe walked past it all and cared enough about her to come near to her. He considered her worth his time. He forgave her. It changed her. She runs immediately, grabs everyone she can find, and she says, come meet the one who told me everything about myself. He knew it all. He knew it all, and still he called me. Still he came to me. She saw that, and it changed her. The standard shifted in her life. She's no longer bound up by the shame other people were making her feel or the shame from her past. No, that's been forgiven. There's a new walk I'm on. Off we go. See, and I think this is powerful, right? Whenever it comes to mastering shame, because, the second you start living for Jesus, people are literally going to line up, right? They're going to line up, and we'll get to a little bit of that here in a second. They're going to line up to tell you that you're a moron. Right? There are so many better things to do with your time, your finances, gifts, abilities. They're going to point to some stupid stuff Christians have done, even some sinful stuff Christians have done, and make it proof positive that you should be ashamed of that, and because of that, not associate with any of it. All Christians are hypocrites. If I hear it one more time, really? If studies I've read are true, all it typically takes is people pointing to 3. All they have to do is point to 3 examples and someone will back away. Really? See, but because of this, when that moment comes in our life, we know exactly what to do. Right? We know exactly where to point. We say, yeah, okay. But Jesus. Jesus. They're like, yeah, but you should be ashamed of it. Jesus, breakfast with the president, Jesus. Stepping past my shame, forgiving my sin, moving me forward. Jesus. We may get it wrong, he gets it right. See, when the world comes and they try to make you ashamed all over again for the things you've done in your past, and maybe even when you feel ashamed because of what you have to be associated with, I can't believe I'm married to you, I can't believe I have to go to work here, I can't believe I have to live in this place, right? You know where to point. Yeah, but Jesus, I don't need anything more. Yeah, but Jesus, he's the king of the universe, doesn't get any bigger. Right? And he calls me by name. He says that I'm forgiven. He says that I'm loved, that I'm treasured, that I'm worthwhile, I'm given purpose, I'm given meaning. He says I'm redeemed and given a future, right? You can live in my past. I'm moving toward his future. Got a different standard, and because of that, I can't feel less than. I've been made more. I've been made more. He lifted me up. Being in his presence gave me what I've needed. See, if you want to master shame, set your standard. Set your standard. Put Jesus in his rightful place. How big is he? How big is he? Go to verses 22 and 23 and you find the next instruction. Jesus shows us that glimpse of himself, and then he says this, yeah, but you got to frame it right. If you really want to get past shame, he says this, the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected. What? Who's going to reject you? Yeah, he's got to be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, teachers of the law, and he must be killed. What? Now, hold on. You're not supposed to lose. So with that, I don't like to be associated with losers, and I was feeling pretty good about this. But you're what? Huh? Yep. Must be killed, and on the third day raised to life. In other words, I may be the Messiah, but I'm not going to be the sort of Messiah you're looking for. You're looking for someone who is going to establish this great earthly kingdom. I'm going to create a spiritual kingdom. You're looking for someone who's going to live and reign. I'm going to live and die so that other people can experience life. You're looking for me to bring heaven to earth, or to bring heaven on earth. I've come to bring heaven to earth. I am taking your script and I'm flipping it. right? You've got to realize that I want to change people's lives, and I'm going to live this way so that that can happen, right? You're looking for someone who's going to bring heaven on earth. You're looking for heaven on earth. I'm bringing heaven to earth, and I'm calling people to that. It's a significant turn. And then he says to them all, whoever wants to be my disciple, they got to do that too. Right? They got to die to this push that we all have to have heaven on earth. And they got to be focused on, bringing heaven to earth. Right? Bringing love and joy and peace and patience and all the things that Jesus is about. He says, whoever wants to be my disciple, they got to deny themselves. Ain't no shame in their game. They got to take up their cross daily and follow me. It's time to get this on. And so in verse 23, not only is he flipping the script, he's playing the game by a different set of rules. A few years ago, I went to a conference, took some teenagers with me, and the conference had us play a group game at the end of it. Right, it's a game, you're scoring points, here's how you score points, da-da-da-da-da. I'm competitive as the day is long, let's bring this on, right? But then there's this caveat, and they say, don't you dare tell them. Caveat's this, the name of the game was score as few points as you can. You just don't tell them that from the get-go, right? Don't tell them that. So what did they do? I spent the whole time playing this game. I mean, one-upping each other, laughing because I got more points than you. What now? Bragging rights, blah, 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 me, you. The whole time. And then at the end of it, I just said, yeah, your entire focus, not so much with it. Right? You read this, and what Jesus is saying is this. You know what? You look around you, and culture's going to try to shame you because you're not living up to this standard. You're not scoring all these points over here, and look at all the things you don't have and can't have and won't have, and you could have if you would just, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And Jesus is going, wow. Well, I created the game, and let me tell you, that isn't how you find life. That isn't how you win this game. That isn't how you do it. You do it by discovering the heaven I've brought to earth and living that. You gotta flip the script. You gotta flip the script. And that's instruction number 2. Take on Jesus' view of reality. The problem with this comes the second you actually start living this way. You do this, it will be noticed. It will be noticed because all the time you're devoting your time over here. You're starting to make decisions over here. And your friends are gonna go, Right? Your family, oh, what is this? I mean, come on. Like you're focusing too much on this. You should feel more shame in your game. I mean, all right. Drag yourself in on Sunday morning, but at least hang your head while you do it. Uncool. Right? They're going to notice, and it's going to be disruptive. I put it this way. I said, you start following Jesus in this way, he's going to totally disrupt, upend your entire friend group, maybe even your family circle. Why? Because all of a sudden you're going to start having purpose in your life while they're still going to be wanting to live in the moment. You're going, how can I get intentional? You're going to start pushing yourself to grow, and they're still going to be rehashing the high school glory days, how good they were, out partying, here's the reason my life is an unholy wreck and my marriage will never get good, and you're going, no, it's on what can Jesus do? You're going to start thinking in terms of significance. They're still pushing for success. You're going to be working on being a better steward of your money. They're going to still be letting their money own them. You're going to be pushing for unity. They're going to be locked in endless gossip and rehashing old wounds and faults. You're going to become more thoughtful. They're still going to be too tough to be tender. What now, right? You're going to be devoting your time to your family and committing and connecting them to Jesus and his way of life, and they're still going to be feeling like you need to apologize for taking that time away from your friend group and your commitment to sports and your commitment to you fill in the blank to actually be at church or a small group. Man, you flipped the script. It's changing things. It's a whole different way of life. But here's the deal. When you start to get the feeling that there's another standard out there, you start to get the feeling that shame on me if I don't meet that standard. If God really created marriage, then shame on me if I don't figure out what it looks like and pull out every stop I can gunning for it. If God really created relationships, then shame on me if I don't go figure that out and move in that direction. I mean, if God really did create work and mission, then shame on me if I'm not working in His direction about His mission, right? Whenever you realize there's a different standard, your life starts to change. And that moves us to the last instruction. Jesus finishes it this way. He says, for whoever wants to save their life, yeah, they're going to lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will save it. All right, what good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self? Here comes, help me with this. Whoever is ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will be of them when He comes in His glory and in the glory of the Father and of the holy angels. And why wouldn't He be ashamed? It's like, I love the way Galatians 3 puts it, that when you're baptized into Christ, you clothe yourselves with Christ. I say it's like you join His team. You put on His jersey. There it is. And all of a sudden you get around people, they start making you feel ashamed. And what do you do with that jersey? He's sitting there going, I thought you were a part of the team. What happened? What happened? I think one of our primary temptations, and the one that Jesus pigeonholes big time here, is we've got this great desire to actually gain the world. We really do. We buy lock, stock, and barrel into what the world says, their definition of success, their definition of what works. Right, their definition of love, their definition of sexuality, their definition of the way you handle finances. We buy into it without thinking. We assume that God's way doesn't work. And so we give up that jersey far too easily. Right? We believe that if we just keep conforming to that standard, we'll have what we always want. And so we come in, we just kind of shake our heads, bow our, scuff our toe. Yeah, I kind of believe in Jesus. But when we follow Him, He gives us a new standard and a new mindset that moves you in a different direction. I just say this, all of a sudden, you start living your life realizing that I got to give that up so that I can gain. I'm going to give up all of this so that I can actually gain what God has for me. I'm realizing that upside down really is right side up. And by the way, that's a shameless plug for the new series starting next week, where this is a launch point. I'm not kidding. Kingdom living for the rest of us. We're going to realize that this is the way to life, that Jesus is who He said He is, right? If He is, right? And if the world really operates the way He says it operates by His economy, then our daily task now is to die to ourselves and live in that direction, to say, hey, there ain't no shame in my game, right? And live like it. A few years ago, I got a picture of what that looked like. It came in this letter. Actually, it was a journal entry written by a pastor, a minister in Zimbabwe. Some of us, we've been talking about peer pressure, shaming you into going another way. Peer pressure, nothing. This guy was actually killed because he took a stand for Jesus. Right? He wrote this 2 weeks before that happened. Right? 2 weeks before that happened. And I'll just read this. What does it look like to master your shame? What does that sort of life look like? He wrote, I'll read. It says, I'm a part of the fellowship of the unashamed. Good line. Good line. I'm a part of the fellowship of the unashamed. I have the Holy Spirit power. The die has been cast. I've stepped over the line. The decision's been made. I'm a disciple of His. I won't look back, let up, slow down, back away, or be still. My past is redeemed. My present makes sense. My future is secure. I'm finished and done with low living and sight walking, with smooth knees, colorless dreams, tamed visions, worldly talking, cheap grace, and dwarfed goals. I no longer need preeminence, prosperity, position, promotions, plaudits, or popularity. I don't have to be right, first, tops, recognized, praised, regarded, or rewarded. I now live by faith, lean in His presence, walk by patience, am uplifted by prayer, and I labor with power. My face is set. My gait is fast. My goal is heaven. My road is narrow. My way rough. My companions are few. My guide reliable. My mission clear. I cannot be bought, compromised, detoured, lured away, turned back, deluded, or delayed. I will not flinch in the face of sacrifice, hesitate in the presence of the enemy, pander at the pool of popularity, or meander in the maze of mediocrity. I won't give up, shut up, let up until I've stayed up, stored up, prayed up, paid up, preached up for the cause of Christ. I'm a disciple of Jesus. I must go till He comes, give till I drop, preach till all know, and work till He stops me. And when He comes for His own, He'll have no problem recognizing me. My banner will be clear. As a part of the fellowship of the unashamed, I came here this morning to say all of that, to ask you this question. Are you ashamed of Jesus? Are you ashamed? And if you say no, prove it. Prove it. Because I'm pretty sure that gets the strength of what Jesus is saying here. Are you ashamed? If not, prove it, because your life will bear it out. Is your standard clear? Are you a part of this fellowship of the ashamed or not? Now, this morning I read this. I think that Jesus is having a conversation with all of us in this room. I know He nailed me down. I know He did. Right? I think for some of us in this room, right, He's having a conversation that goes something like this, that says, you know what? You've been rolling around this decision of whether or not to follow Him, and you've been doing it for a while now. You really have. But whenever it comes time to move forward on that, to say, I want to be a disciple of Jesus, I want to even get baptized, you look to the right, you look to the left, and you sit down when you should stand up and move ahead. Maybe He's saying this. Are you ashamed of me? If shame's holding you back, master your shame. Master your shame, or it's going to master you. Time will pass, and you'll never move in my direction. I think some of us this morning we've been tricked, right, into believing that, we kind of got to apologize. We got to apologize for the fact that Jesus is a big deal in our life. Right? We just kind of get that, and so we come here, and it's just like we're kind of apologetic about it. All right, I got to sing, but, I'm around people, so here we go, right? I think maybe Jesus is saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? Sing with gusto. Live with reckless abandon. Live as one set free. Live so others know. I think some of us this morning, He's saying, you know what? That prove it bit will get it done. It'll get it done. I think He's calling you to take one thing that prioritizes Jesus and set it hard in your schedule. And then figure out how to make it stay. Because it's not going to move. I'm going to serve in this way. I'm going to keep this commitment no matter what. Here it goes. It's the one thing that cannot move for me. And you're going, well, I ain't got time for that. No. What, you're ashamed of this? Really? No. Take one thing, whether it's serving Him, whether it is, given in a ridiculous way, whether it is, you name it, starting a ministry, being a part of a small group. Come on, if you don't know, you can come to me when you have this. I think He's calling you to set one thing and then figure out how it sticks. Other things got to move, so this remains. Are you ashamed of Jesus today? If not, prove it. Why don't you stand with me, and I'll pray for you, and we'll move in this direction. Father God, thank You for this clear call from You in Scripture. God, I pray that you would move in our hearts. God, thank you that you weren't ashamed of us. And because of that, you came near to us, you forgave us, you call us, you love us and treasure us. God, thank you for that. God, thank you now that you're patient with us. I just pray that you would open something up, right? That you would break something off, that you'd shake something loose today in us, that we would respond. God, I pray those of us here right now who are feeling and dealing with shame in a big way, God, I pray your strength and your love and compassion in their life. God, I pray that you would welcome them into the fellowship of the unashamed. God, I pray for those of us who are going, you know what, I do need to prove it. Lord, I pray that you confirm that, how easily that conviction can leave. And God, I pray for those who realize they've yet to receive you and follow you, who know they need to and are convicted as all get out, just haven't made that move. God, I pray you move them now. You move them now. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.